What's going on, guys? So before I get into the video, I just wanted to go do a quick rundown. This video more so is to help people out, but it's not a direct how-to video. The views too are 100% non-bias. We're installing the PRL turbo kit on this vehicle. We're not getting paid by PRL for this, to document this. And you'll see there's some stuff in the video that we are honest about, and hopefully it helps others. So like I said, I just wanted to put this kind of before the video to mention this isn't a direct how-to video. It is to help a little bit, not only guys with 9 gens, but any vehicle that you're doing. The other reason too we made this is this customer is about 7 to 8 hours away. So it's not like she can come and check up on her car every day and see the progress. So hopefully you guys like it. And, you know, as I say in the video, if you guys got any questions, comments, info is down below. Reach out to us. We're here to help. Thanks a lot, guys. So we got this project in, racked. Andrew's waiting on me so I can get a video, but he can continue to work on it. Got the bumper off. We're doing the PRL turbo kit install, RBC intake manifold install. With the turbo kit install, we're going to be doing the fuel pump as well, so we'll cover that. Just took the bumper off. Found these miscellaneous tools inside the bumper, so we'll bag these up and she'll get them back. So it's going to be we'll do a full video on it. I'll do a full video on it. A lot of this stuff is just pretty much bolt up, and the same questions that I get asked daily, or we get asked daily, I should say, emails or phone calls. I think a lot of it is just hesitation because guys never installed it themselves, so they just want to know with questions being asked. As far as the RBC stuff goes, and we have everything laid out pretty nicely here for us too, because it makes things smooth. We're also doing a clutch and a flywheel install, but we got the full RBC set up here. You know, a lot of guys with 9 gens, we get called and, you know, hey, well, you know, do you guys cut the RBC manifold? And the way that you should do it, and we recommend it, is just running the adapters. It's nice and easy, 100% pretty much a bolt-on affair. We got the whole turbo kit over here. We inventoried it here last week, make sure everything was in there. And yeah, so we'll be covering that here on out, get some videos back and forth. So we got a little in-between work here. We got some spark plugs that are going out today. Someone placed an order online. And the one thing that we offer here is we do gap spark plugs for free for people if you order spark plugs from us. Might not seem like a big deal. You can gap them yourself. All you got to do is just close up the tip. We use a little vise. They sell a nice little tool as well, but it's a little pricey. But just something that we offer too, and we don't charge our customers for. These will be going out and shipping out later today. And we're back up here. So we're making progress on this thing. We got the bumper support already done. We're going to be dropping the trans. The way that we do it, we drop the subframe. Get the new flywheel installed, new clutch installed. I'm going to get out of the way so we can continue to work. And turn the music back on so we don't get hit with any copyright infringements. So got progress going on here. I'll get back and follow up with that. So busy day, as always. But we're sitting inside a customer's car. We did a whole out build on this, and one of the things during the build, he talked to me, and this is his wife's car. He said that he wanted something to be able to Bluetooth his phone, or his wife wanted something to Bluetooth his phone, her phone, I should say, I'm sorry, for music and phone calls. And we picked this little device up from Amazon, free plug, and all you do is match up the station to what station's over here, and if this is set, here, let me do this really quick. If this is set to a different station, You can hear the static, but as soon as you set this to the same station, no static, it goes away, and it plays. Then you could Bluetooth from your phone, and of course I'm recording with my phone, so I can't get you a video of it playing, but it's pretty awesome, and it's really clear. So just some little feature. We're gonna toss this in. I'm not even gonna charge the guy for it. Just something that he wanted, and we're doing kind of as a courtesy, more so a thank you for allowing us to work on your car. And basically we built with the motor setup. It's the K24, K20 head build setup. So hopefully you guys got a little kick out of that. Nothing major, but just little stuff that goes on throughout the day here. So we're making some progress here. Got the engine supported right now. Clutch and flywheel will be coming out. We have all the there's the transmission. We'll clean it up inside. Take the fork out, clean up all that dust. Here's all the old parts that are coming along. These will be cleaned up. These will go back in her trunk. Any old part we ever take off a car, it belongs to you. So it doesn't matter if it's good or if it's broken. We always put it back in the car. Here's the subframe. We'll have the subframe out. We're going to keep the subframe out here. We're going to get all the get the exhausts and stuff, get the turbo stuff mocked up and whatnot. We got a lot more room that way. We got the steering rack zip tied out of the way so it doesn't fall. And yeah, coming along. We'll take this one out when we do clutches and flywheels. We always torque them to spec, and we use Loctite. It's something that we do. Some people might argue and say you don't need it. We use it. I've used it since day one, since I've been doing this. So, you know, like I said, some people might argue and say it's not needed. Well, we like to use it here. We'll torque the flywheel down. We'll actually show you another thing that we do as well when we torque clutches and flywheels down. Okay, so we got the new flywheel going on. Besides making sure the flywheel is always clean, you see the paint marker, a little dark under here, but you can see the paint marker on the flywheel bolts. I do that just to make sure I get them all. And of course, when you're torquing them, don't torque one side all the way down first. Go in order. Let me put down my torque wrench really quick. So the torque spec for this, usually on a flywheel, it's anywhere from like 85 to 90. I believe this one's actually 90 foot-pounds. You know, start here, you know, go in the normal torquing pattern, which would be, you know, here, 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 like, you know, a star. But when you get them somewhat tight, you know, maybe torque this one to 20, then this one to 20, and go in increments. Don't torque one side, you know, don't torque this to 90 if this is not even torqued to, you know, 20-ish. So set your torque wrench to 20, you know, maybe do 20, then 40, then 60, stuff like that. Or you can just do, you know, 30, then 60. But make sure that it's torqued down evenly. And like I said, I use the yellow paint marker, or a paint marker in general, just to remind myself that I already hit those bolts up. Little tip, maybe helpful, maybe not. So we got the RBC set up on and done. We got the adapter on. You know, there's honestly not much. There's not much to the RBC swap. You know, I've had somebody ask me if we're going to do the water bypass, or some people will cut the manifold and then run the K-tuner little adapter thing. It's not needed for this setup. You know, the pros and the cons with cutting the manifold, running the little thing, they definitely don't outweigh doing it this way. We've had guys before that try to use the adapter, that you have to cut the manifold, and then it ends up where the manifold meets the adapter. You end up having a leak. So do this. Yeah, the Purell adapter is a tad bit money, but it's money well spent. Especially if you mess up and you screw up an RBC manifold, because I've had customers do that in the past. So, comes with the adapter. We sell all this stuff here too. It comes with the adapter to run the stock throttle body. That's another thing too. A lot of guys want to upgrade to the ZDX throttle body. I don't recommend it at all. The amount of issues you might have with the ZDX throttle body, idle issues more so, it's not worth the small little horsepower gain that you're going to get. You're going to maybe see 2 horsepower increase. It's not that big of a deal. So we always recommend on the 9th Gen Civics, always keep the stock throttle body. This customer, and we talked to her, we're going to upgrade the lower mount to the Hatchport mount. We still got the subframe off the car, but the trans is now supported with that mount. She's going to come back here down the road. I think we're going to switch it over to E85, make a little more power. But right now with her trip and the time frame we got, we didn't want to overcomplicate things and not get this car done with the time frame she was working with. As far as that goes as well, you know, if you're going to be doing a clutch install, of course, you know, it'd be a good time to do the bushings on these. Some people like the cutie bushings or the hybrid bushings. She actually has a Buddy Club shifter too. A lot more people are starting to run the Buddy Club shifter. We'll do a little feature on that. We'll get that in there. What else? That's pretty much about it for today. We got the fuel rail and the injectors going in tomorrow. We're going to start with the intercooler piping, mounting all that stuff, the turbo stuff. We'll do a quick little update when we get the fuel injectors. We've got the fuel pump going in tomorrow too. We decided to go with an AEM E85 pump. We prefer AEM and of course E85 compatible because she does plan on going E85 later. A lot of other people use other brands. There's a specific brand that we've had failures with. We've seen failures. So we stick with an AEM fuel pump. Injectors will be Grams. Grams injectors, we've had nothing but success with them. No issues with them. So she'll be getting Grams injectors. You know, the biggest thing too, and I'll get an updated video, but when you go to install injectors in any car and you tighten down the fuel rail, you always want to ensure that the injector is not super loose, not moving back and forth when it's inside. Some injectors will come with different adapters, different O-rings or the rubber cushions. You know, when the fuel rail, and I'll get a video of this afterwards. When the fuel rail is bolted on to the intake manifold, you should be able to, you might be able to move the injector a tad bit, but not a lot. You know, some cars they'll be just rattling around and loose, and you never want that. So besides that, she's coming along. Intercooler should be up there tomorrow. And yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll be soon. Maybe we'll get it started soon, and get it taken care of and go from there. One other quick tip that I also recommend when you're doing a clutch job. This car is a 2012, so it's roughly about 8 years old. I can't see the mileage right now because the battery's unhooked and we don't have the fuel stuff, but whenever you're doing a clutch job, it's always smart to do the slave cylinder as well. You see the slave cylinder that is down there. It is currently not connected because it has to be disconnected from the trans. Well, since you got it disconnected anyways, it's always recommended to do a new slave when you do a new clutch and a flywheel setup like we're doing, just to ensure that everything's going to be good. You know, you don't have to do the clutch master. The clutch master is, you know, tucked way back there, so it's not something that has to come apart anyways when you're doing a trans. But definitely recommend to upgrade the slave cylinder. We sell an upgraded one here, normally in stock. I think it's like $60, so it's not really going to break the bank that much anyways. Besides that, just wanted to jump back in and remind people of that. So we're getting into wrapping up the firewall on project, we'll call it Project 9th-gen. And when I say wrapping up the firewall, I literally mean wrapping it with the gold tape. Our tips, suggestions would be to cut down small pieces. Don't try to do it with one single piece of tape. The other thing too is if you're doing this in let's say a cold garage, you probably want to try to get some kind of heater in there so the tape will stick better. And basically just contour it around edges and everything else that you can possibly get to. So you got it on the brake lines, you got it about the wires. He's taking care of that right now. We got the turbo over here on the bench. That will be going up on the car a little bit later. We got to test fit it. One thing, so I wiped the camera down. Sorry about that. One thing we did note, you can see the head on this bolt is bigger than this because we had to shave it down. It actually hits the turbo, and you can see that. And there are tricks where you don't fully tighten the other bolts, and you can pull this piece up a little bit more to get it on more, but there's no way around it. Would have liked to see Allen bolts here used, but at the same time too, when you're going to take stuff off on Allen bolts, you know, you can strip them possibly. So we're just grinding down the actual flange part. Got to do a little bit more grinding. It's nice to have. We have all the tools here to do something like that, but if you're doing it inside your garage, that might be a little bit of an issue for you. Seen some other guys here and there complain about these bolts. I don't know why. The bolts they fit just fine. There's a good close-up or whatever you want to call it of the manifold. It's fully billet manifold, machined down. We have the wastegate over here chilling. We have the fuel pump. Can't remember if I mentioned it, but we upgraded the customer to an AEM E85 compatible fuel pump. There are other brands out there. If you look good enough, you will see the fail rate being higher on these other brands. So we have nothing but good success with AEM, so she's going to get that going. Got the intercooler chilling in the box. Going to put that on today. We'll see how far we get. Maybe we'll get some life in it and attempt to start it up. If not, we'll be shooting for tomorrow. And yeah, we got that going on. Here's the oil fittings for the feed for the turbo. That's going to screw in the oil pressure fitting. I don't know if I can get to, it's up there. I need a light. Biggest thing, little tip with this, is do not over tighten this. Do not cross thread it into the block because you will have a nightmare. This comes with a warning here. Whenever we're doing these in the shop, we always tell people if you know, my mechanics, my guys, if it doesn't feel like it's going in correctly, stop. Come and ask for a second opinion. This can turn a 20-minute job into a nightmare. So, with that being said, get some more videos here coming up shortly and go from there. So I want to get a quick video there showing you guys how to, we're swapping out the wastegate spring, and it's always best to have an extra set of hands, or you can use a vise. Biggest thing you don't want to do is have the top push up when you're loosening or tightening the bolts, because you'll strip them out. We do see customers from time and time again, they're missing a couple bolts. They appear to be stripped out for whatever reason. But it's a little helpful hint. If you don't have a bench vise in your garage, get another pair of hands. Go ask your wife, girlfriend, your mother, father, your dog, and just put pressure on the top when you're loosening them and taking them off. And then the other rule of thumb is, for this car, we know how much power it wants to hit already, or what we're shooting for. The rule of thumb is, for a manual boost controller, you can double the spring pressure. So if it's got an 8-pound spring in it, and let's say you're going to have a boost controller in line. Okay, I had to turn off the compressor really quick, but let's say you have a 7-pound spring and you're doing a manual boost controller. The rule of thumb is you can double the spring pressure before the wastegate wants to start opening. So 7 pounds, you can push about 14 pounds. Electronic boost controller, it will hold a little bit more, but it's still kind of the same concept. You want to set it up according to what you're trying to make, but you also want to remember not to set it up with too big of a spring, because you can't go down. So if you got a 12-pound spring in there, you can't run 10 pounds or 8 pounds, but you can always work your way up. That's something to keep in mind too, because if you're going to do something like boost by gear, you're going to want the spring in there. You want the lowest spring pressure in there that you're going to be shooting for. So let's say in first and second gear you're shooting for 9 psi. I'd recommend doing maybe like a 7-pound spring, so you can so if you have a little bit of a boost creep more so, it's not going to be even an issue. But that's when you're doing boost by gear stuff. So some stuff to keep in mind when you are picking out wastegate springs. The other thing too that we see a lot of, if you buy a used wastegate, or let's say a no-name wastegate, it really helps to know what spring pressure, spring that is in there for the pressure. If you don't know and I do a hit on the dyno, and let's say it starts building up to 15. Are we having a boost issue? Is it just a spring issue? We don't know. So stuff like that is good to know before and ahead of time. So we got all the intercooler piping laid out, the couplers and the clamps. We talked to PRL about instructions for the kit. They're hoping to get one up soon, but they don't. So basically, you lay out the piping, make things look easier. Some pipes specifically where they go. Some other ones, if it's your first time doing it, might be a little bit of trial and error. But this seems to be a little bit a better way to lay everything out so you don't get kind of confused. The other thing too is make sure that you keep the turbo fairly loose so you can still clock it. You don't want anything kind of solid right now. You want to get your pipes fitting perfectly, then tighten up the turbo and go from there. So just another little helpful tip. What's going on, guys? So we've made good progress on project 9th Gen. We'll keep it simple. We don't need a fancy title. We have turbo kit's pretty much on. All the pipes right now have to be finagled a little bit. One thing I wanted to mention too before I forgot, because I know in the previous video I showed the little issue with the turbo and whatnot. I talked to PRL about that. Ultimately, it does come down to precision. If they were to machine the casting on the turbo on the casting, if they were able to machine it a little bit more, the bolt would fit in there. You wouldn't have an issue. We discussed it with PRL a little bit, coming up with maybe for some solutions in the future. Not only for us to make things easier, but we keep in mind that guys are going to try to install this in their garage, and not everyone has access to the tools that we do. So I didn't want to forget that. But one of the tips that I have today in this video, and I might have mentioned it before, when you're doing the intercooler piping, keep everything loose. Keep the turbo when you go to make sure it's not fully set where it needs to be, so you can maneuver the pipes and get a better fitment. The rule of thumb too is on both pieces of pipe you're going to have a lip on the pipe itself, and then you'll have a small, maybe tiny gap. you want to keep that gap to a minimal. So let's say you got a 2-finger gap in this one underneath the piping. You got to imagine it. You know, if you keep everything loose, you can maybe push this pipe a little bit more and get that gap to shorten down. The other thing that I always recommend to people on clamps is, the rule of thumb is when you tighten them pretty much to a point where you feel like you're going to crush the pipe. You know, because a lot of guys, I think, are scared to tighten them down. They're going to break the clamp, they think. If you break the clamp by tightening it by hand as tight as you can, the clamp was probably on the cheaper side anyways. So, but with that being said, the other thing too, if you got a 9 gen, 8 gen, whatever you're working on, with more power comes, you're going to have to do an upgraded clutch. So of course, and we documented this, we did the clutch on this one. Keep the subframe off. Right now the lower subframe is off completely, and it makes things easier to get into and maneuver around. Specifically on this car, the turbo manifold, the downpipe, the big old intake pipe, which it just allows us more room to work with down there. Besides that, everything is progressing. Another little thing on the injectors, you know, and a lot of people, I know some people don't like solder. We solder our connections. You can use, there's specific connectors you can get too. I don't know if the right term is butt connectors, but if you use those, get a solid crimper. And then on any kind of wiring, basically I call it the tug test. If you're doing, especially if you're doing connectors, take the wire and tug on it. If it comes apart, then the connection failed. One of the things though that I want to mention, and we see from time to time, people get the adapters, the plug and play adapters that will plug into the stock OEM fuel injector clips, and then they plug into the injector, which yes, the concept is nice, but we have seen those adapter clips fail. And we've seen them fail to a point where you might not notice that you're having a slight misfire. We had a car on the dyno the one day, and I you know, it wasn't running like it should. When you tune a lot of cars, you have a feel for them. And when I was moving the injector wires, the car just stabled itself out. You know, at that point, took the adapters off. We told the customer, hey, we're going to wire them directly to the injector. We're not going to have any fails in between on something like that. Injectors are a big piece of a build. Don't skimp out. We prefer grams, injector dynamics, and FIC. That's what we prefer. We have never had an issue with any of those brands. We do all our own injector cleaning and testing in-house. So from time and time again, we'll take injectors off, clean them, make sure they're good, especially on E85 cars. So that's my recommendation. Those are a few little tips I got for today. We have some stuff that we got to still install. We got the fuel pump. And I notice in my videos I've been sniffling. If it's annoying, sorry about that. It's cold. I pull some long hours here, and yeah, it's. But I've noticed it myself. So, got the downpipe still to go on. We got the Buddy Club shifter. So that will be installed today. Really nice piece. One of the things too I wanted to recommend is on any kind of part you're doing too, it's always good to do research on stuff. The Buddy Club shifter is really nice. You got to watch out who you're buying stuff from. You know, at the end of the day, some guys are just in it for the sales. They don't care about the long run, how the part's going to perform. They're just trying to make the most amount of money. I've said it time and time again. And if you, of course, are on my Facebook Live, then you know I don't give a shit how much money I make up on parts, how much profit I make. If the part is garbage, I'm not going to sell it. If there's other options, I'm going to give you the options. And then I'm going to tell you the pros and the cons and my experience with them. I've been doing this now for 21 years. So, and it's an everyday occurrence. This is not like a side gig for me. It's day in and day out. But you'll see from you know, I'll see in the groups on Facebook, well, yeah, this part's the best, and it's like, no, there's other options out there. You're just trying to make a quick buck or more money on it, and you're not looking at the long term. And like I said, that goes with any product. We're not just, I see in these parts she actually bought online. Really, really good parts. Transmission and oil drain plug. Magnetic. But yeah, that's just my little thing for the day. And as I tell all my customers too, you know, if there's two products, I'd say do the research. Don't always believe the first guy that's going to tell you that this is the most amazing, greatest part ever. A lot of these companies are just, you know, they're not looking for the long term. Since day one, since I started this business, it's always been, as I consider it, my customers are long-term investments. You know, there's certain products that we make a killing on if we were to sell them, but they're just completely garbage. You know, the products fail after a year. They cause your car to run even worse. So there's no sense of me putting that on a car and ultimately having you possibly come back, or just realizing that, hey, I just sold you bullshit. Because that's the last thing I'm about, and that's the last thing anybody here that works for me is about. And I say it from time to time again, you know, and when I train my guys, if I ever catch you doing something like that, or, you know, even wording stuff in a way that you're just trying to make a sale, and you're picking a product that you're going to make more commission on, there's an issue with that. And that just goes back, you know, I firmly believe that goes back to how I was raised. I was raised to help other people. It doesn't matter, you know, I'm not here to make a quick buck. As I said, I've been doing this for a while. See, we got the horn down there. But yeah, the one thing too, so as I'm just putting that up there too, we've been talking to PRL. You know, the one big downside I'll say to the kit is it doesn't come with really, really good instructions. And if this is your first time doing it, you know, I mentioned about the intercooler piping yesterday. I'd like to work with PRL a little bit more, maybe get them some good instructions with pictures. If they can't do it, I know they're busy. Maybe we can do something for them to help them out in that aspect too, because we just want to see guys that are doing this in their garage, or, you know, guys that maybe work at a shop. Just make things easier, you know. So that's about it. I'll get another update video here. Hopefully some tips and some stuff helped you out here. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much. Just trying to make sure I cover everything, give you guys something to watch. And I got my fancy shoes on today, so I'm gonna go jet out here, go with my mom to the doctor. We're gonna see if this little lump that she had is cancerous. We're staying positive. If you're not familiar, she beat cancer in 2018. They said she shouldn't be alive, but she beat it. So we go back to the doctor today to get the results from last week's surgery to see what's going on. So hopefully everyone else is having a good day. Hopefully these videos help you guys. Take care.